We're back on the early edge. Mackenzie Brooks joins the group. It's Mackenzie, it's Larry, it's Danny, and it's props. A lot of props to discuss for these two Monday night games. Mackenzie, I'm going to start with you for two reasons. One is because you just joined us. The other is I owe you a bit of an apology because last time you were on the show, we did this court thing, and I ruled against you on the Jayden Daniels interception. Now, if you recall, Jayden Daniels was a favorite in that game against the Chicago Bears. You took his INT prop anyway, and here we are. I'm asking you the first question on a passing prop, and you're taking a favorite quarterback, if you will, to throw an INT.
Well, here's the thing about these quarterbacks. Like, for some of them, they can still have a good game throwing an interception, right? I think Sam Darnold, who we have projected to have an interception, he's the type of guy that rather have 3 passing touchdowns and an interception than 1 passing touchdown and no interceptions, right? So as much as the Seattle team wants to believe they have a two-headed monster with their running backs here, they really just haven't been that efficient. I think he will be forced to stretch the ball down the field. And again, I think Sam Darnold can have a great game. I think the Seattle team will win this game. But I just think, I don't want to say he's due, but he's been playing some pretty good, clean football. And we know Sam Darnold has it in him. So when we get around even money, I'm going to take the interception.
Jared Goff is really in a great spot tonight. First of all, he gets back his blindside protector, Taylor Decker, the left tackle. That's going to make him feel very comfortable. He's also going to feel comfortable because they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. The last 3 times they faced the Bucs, over a 63% pass rate, because that's how you attack Tampa Bay. You don't want to run into Vita Vea. You want to throw with all the weapons he has, perfect indoor environment, a terrible Tampa Bay pass defense. I love Jared Goff. Over 256.5 is what I got it at. I would play this up to 260.5.
And if Larry's riding with Goff to air it out, I expect Baker Mayfield to respond in kind. Give me the over 33.5 pass attempts. Now, Mayfield has only been over this number in 2 games thus far, but it's really the matchup that it sets up for. We know the Lions play a heavy rate of man defense, but they're down almost half their secondary, like Larry alluded to before. So you got to attack them through the air. They get Aleem McNeil back on the defensive line. Bucky Irving remains out. I think Mayfield knows that it's through the air that he can beat this Lions team, and he'll take the onus on himself to throw at least 34 times in this game.
I totally agree. I'm going to volley right off of that sentiment, Danny Brasco, because it's not that I think rushing the ball is going to be a wasted down. They're going to have to try to establish some semblance of a running game. I just don't think it's going to be very successful, especially when you consider, you mentioned it, the defensive line for the Lions, it's pretty healthy, especially with the Lee McNeil back. It's that back end that Baker's going to have to expose. We think we're getting Ibuka and Wow, blast from the past. Mike Evans. Either way, even if we get one of those two guys, we know Baker can do it with secondary and third-tier receivers. So over 242.5 passing yards. This is anywhere between 240 and 250. I like it as high as maybe 245, 246. And I do want to mention, I like his over 1.5 touchdown passes. That's pretty juicy as well, but you can still find minus 145 to minus 150 out in the market. All right, let's go to rushing props. Larry Hartstein, I'm starting with you.
Well, Nick Chubb is a great story, and he's come back from such a serious injury and played pretty well so far, but under 38.5 is the way I'm going in this game because you do not want to run into the teeth of that Seattle run defense. At home, the Seahawks giving up 2.9 yards per carry. And what I really like about this bet is we're coming off the bye. That was a chance to get Woody Marks more involved in the offense. He's obviously the more explosive option in the Houston backfield. So I think Nick Chubb's touches are going to go down slightly. It's a terrible matchup against Seattle's run defense. I'm going under 38.5.
Way to tee me up, Larry, and make me look good because I will be taking Woody Marks over 8.5 rush attempts. I think we're going to see, like you mentioned, a lot more Woody Marks in this game. You saw, I think it was week 4, he had this massive breakout game, and then you think to yourself, where did he go? But they play a team like Baltimore. Do you really need to use him against Baltimore when Nick Chubb himself is running for 5 yards per carry? Like, I don't think Nick Chubb, like you said, will have a lot of success against this Seattle defense, so you might as well get your young guy in there. I think he is due to have another big game here. And again, I think this is just priced as if it's more of a 60-40 split, but I think it'll be around 50-50. We have him projected for closer to 11 rush attempts.
And on the ground, I'm actually looking for a quarterback. I like Baker Mayfield to go over 18.5 rushing yards. He went well over this mark in the first 3 weeks of the season, has gone under in the last 3, but I think that presents some value here at 18.5 because Baker is still scrambling at a top 10 rate out of any quarterback in the league, and pressure is coming from the edge with Aiden Hutchinson. So despite all the injuries in the secondary, yes, Bucs receivers will be open. It's not like it's going to be free out there, and I expect Baker to have to be taking off at least multiple times in this game, which he's done successfully this season. I even like an anytime touchdown sprinkle at plus 650, maybe his first TD of the year, but Baker's going to be on the run from Aiden and those boys.
I totally agree with this. This is my play as well. I like the over 18.5 rushing yards. He is going to be flushed out. This is the thing. When we like attempts and we like completions, it probably means we like dropbacks, which means you got more opportunity to scramble. I like the 18.5 yards. We know Baker Mayfield in big games, primetime games, or really any game is not afraid to scramble. I expect him to get 20-plus yards rushing in this one. I do want to mention, I like Woody Marks as well. I like his rushing and receiving, which I believe is in that 46.5 range. That's something I would look at as well in this rushing department. Danny, I'm going to go back to you for our next set of props. We're going to receiving. Where are you at?
So we know Baker's been playing with a super injured wide receiver core. And like you mentioned, I think Ibuka and Evans look to be playing tonight. Ibuka maybe a game time decision. But I think Cade Otton is in line to continue getting a lot of target share. I like him to go over his receiving yards total. Last season, we saw in this kind of weeks 3 through 9 period, Otton went over his receiving yards total in 6 of 7 games. And alas, here we are in that portion of the season this year, and Otton's gone over in back-to-back games. I think Mayfield is going to have to settle in to a potentially kind of security blanket guy. Yes, receivers will be open like we've been mentioning, but I expect the Lions to play a little more zone coverage in this game considering all their injuries. They can't just go super high rate of man coverage, single high safety, because that's how they're going to get burnt. So look for a little more zone heavy action that opens up some opportunities for Cade Otton to sit down there and get some easy catches.
Jaden Higgins is another Texans rookie that could take another step coming out of the bye. Caught all 4 of his targets against the Ravens a couple weeks ago for 32 yards. Christian Kirk has been ruled out. You have to throw the ball to somebody besides Nico Collins. We know Reek Woolen is back for the Seahawks, but will they have Witherspoon? Will they have Julian Love? So are there going to be opportunities on the outside for the Texans receiver? And Higgins' number has shot up. I mean, this was 21.5. Kirk has been ruled out, and now 29.5, even some in the low 30s. I think at 29.5, there is still room to go over. He ran a season-high 16 routes in his last game, and that was before the bye. I'm expecting about 20 routes tonight.
I'm going to head right to that touchdown market here with A.J. Barner anytime touchdown. He's obviously become the tight end for Seattle here. And even going back to last season, like his percent of team receiving touchdowns is a lot higher than just his receptions overall for his teams, 32% compared to 14. So you're getting good value with the plus 370 that you're getting here. I mean, this is a guy, his production overall the past 3 weeks has gone up 3 receptions, 7 receptions, 3 receptions, and he's had 3 touchdowns in those past 3 games. So the fact that we're getting plus 370 on a guy that's blatantly more involved here and a guy Sam Darnold should be looking to in short situations, I think this is pretty good value.
Speaking of tight ends, because we talked about Cade Otton, we talked about A.J. Barner, I like Sam Laporta to have a big game. I like his receiving yards over. Now, this is pretty high for a tight end of the Sam Laporta quality because, I mean, Trey McBride, you start to see in the low 50s, high 40s, but 47.5, it's admittedly high, but Larry talked about it. Jared Goff is going to be passing the ball a lot. And outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's scheduled to get between 75 and 80 yards and 6 or 7 catches, I think Laporta is going to be the next target. I think he's going to get a lot of targets. I like his receptions over, but I like his yardage over as well. I think it's a nice matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, let's go to a game or team prop we like. Mackenzie, right back to you.
Oh, it's gross. The minute I saw this game on primetime, this screamed under to me. Like, these two defenses, if we're being for real, I mean, this is looking like one of those ugly 17-10 type games. We have all these over props on the board, and then we're like, you know what? Why did we even take any of them? I just think between these defenses, I've been so high on the Seattle defense overall, and Houston obviously looking good too. So outside of those 2 Houston games where they got to play some of the worst defenses in the league, like against the Titans, like against the injured Baltimore Ravens, their numbers are very skewed. So if you look at them versus actual talented defenses like Seattle, I think you'd be surprised and alarmed to see the numbers they are hitting.
Yeah, and I got to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown of his receiving yards total. I didn't quite get to a game prop here. I'll have some more on that in the next segment, but there's no way I'm leaving here without a Lions prop on the board because Amon-Ra had 9 catches on 10 targets for just 45 yards last week against the Chiefs. They held him to 5 yards a catch super limited. I think there's no way that the Bucs are going to be able to contain him like that. And against this team, watch for those kind of quick looks, those quick slant looks for Amon-Ra. He's not going to drop any on fourth down this week, which was a kind of mind-boggling play. Look for him to make up for that and go over the 78.5 yards receiving total.
Well, that really goes well with my play, Danny. I'm going with the Lions over 29.5. This is juiced to -135. I would still play them over 30.5 if that's all you can get. They're going to prove a point. They do it pretty much coming off of every loss. And you look at this Bucs defense, the last time they faced a really good passing offense in the Seahawks, they gave up 35, and Sam Darnold had basically a historic offensive game. The Lions are a better pass offense. They're going to put up a huge number over 29.5.
I'll be quick with mine. I like the Texans first quarter money line because you're getting a plus number in front of it, plus 110. Coming off a bye, the Texans are playing a little bit better, but coming off a bye, I really like teams to start out pretty well with their scheduled plays. And again, plus 110. If you can get the plus a half at a reasonable price, I certainly like that. But I'll go ahead and take the money line at plus 110 on the Texans. All right, we got just a few seconds left before we're up against it. How about without explanation, let's get a first touchdown score. Larry, kick us off.
A.J. Barner, I mean, he pretty much scores every week.
Mackenzie, did he steal yours?
Ooh, he did. He actually did steal mine, and I went in and edited mine. Give me Baker, the touchdown maker, 35-1.
I'm sick of getting cute. I'm just taking Rachaad White plus 750.
All right. I like that. I'm going to go to Sam Laporte at plus 1,100. I like him for the game. I like him for a first touchdown and what should be a wild one. Well, we're not done. We're done with Mackenzie Brooks. Thanks for joining us, Mackenzie. We'll see you very, very soon. Mike McClure takes her spot, and we still got to break down sides and totals for these Monday Night Football games. That's coming up next on The Early Edge. We're back on The Early Edge, and we got to hit our favorite sides and totals. Mike McClure joins the family. And Mike, we got two games to choose from, the 7 o'clock game, the 10 o'clock game. I'll mention that we have Seattle over at BetMGM as a -3 favorite. The Lions have moved from 5.5 to 6. Mike, which line do you like the most?
I like the Lions here, Sia, to be honest with you. I think this is truly a must-win spot for them, and I think they're catching Tampa Bay really at the right time. We talk about Baker Mayfield being a potential MVP candidate, and I agree with that. He's played phenomenal. The issue that I have is he has to essentially be perfect once again with limited weapons, but it's this Detroit team that I like, particularly at home here. You've got all the offensive skill position players are healthy. The offensive line is healthy. I think this is a big night for the Detroit Lions. I made the line 6.5, so I agree with the market movement today from 5.5 to 6. I think this could be a spot where the Lions pull away, win by double digits, though. Give me Detroit -6.
Yeah, and for the record, this line could toggle right back down to 5.5 as well. I don't think it moves up to 6.5. Larry, I don't know if you have any commentary on that game. What I do know is that the rest of us like this Seattle game. What's your pick in that one?
Yeah, I'm going to lay it with Seattle at -3. I mean, this is historically the greatest 4-2 team in the history of DVOA. They have the highest DVOA in the league. In other words, they're a lot better than their 4-2 record. You look at their losses, very fluky loss to the Niners in week 1, and then that 38-35 game. So this Seattle team is great, and they haven't played great at home. But I think C.J. Stroud, with that offensive line, is going to be under so much pressure tonight, like he was when he faced the Rams, where he was pressured on every other drop back. It might even be worse tonight in terms of the pressure. I don't think it's going to be high scoring, but I do like Seattle in a 20-10 type of game.
Totally in line with Larry here, because what about the Texans inspires you right now besides two routings of broken teams that I really don't rate at all? Anytime they've played a decent defense, they put up 9 against the Rams, they put up 19 against the Bucs, and they put up 10 against the Jaguars. So here you go into Seattle, where yes, they haven't been as dominant at home, but I think that's a little bit fluky too. I think Lumen Field's going to be roaring for this one. And hey, Sam Darnold against the defense that's allowing the fewest points per game in the league, little scary of a prospect, right? But Darnold, surprisingly in his career, 13-6-2 against the spread when facing a defense allowing 20 points per game or less, 14-7 straight up. So he's been able to win these games against stout defenses, and I think he covers the -3 for the Seahawks tonight.
Yeah, I mean, gentlemen, I almost hate to agree with you on this one because I feel like I'm slowly walking into a trap here because 3 seems a little easy for a very underwhelming Texans team. I do think them coming off a bye is making the market respect them perhaps a little bit more than they should. I feel like this should be 3.5 or 4. But while I think I am walking into a trap, I'm still going to lay the 3 points. So I agree with you both. I'm in on that. I don't have a strong opinion on that Lions game one way or the other. Let's go to totals. Danny Brasco, you and Larry agree on this one again. I'm going to let you get first crack at it.
We talked about it earlier in the show. There's no way I can't bet the over in this Lions Bucs game. That's sure to be a shootout. First of all, dome environment in Detroit. We know Goff thrives indoors. And we know that both these defenses are very vulnerable to explosive plays. The Lions have nobody out there in their secondary. Pretty much everyone injured or suspended now, with Brian Branch punching Juju Smith-Schuster in the face. Could have used him for this one against Baker Mayfield. And if Ibuka and Evans play, they gain all that explosivity on their offense too. So we've seen the Bucs haven't been able to stop anybody really either. They just got to get into shootouts and hope they can score more. And I think that's what we're headed for tonight.
Yeah, and the last time the Lions lost, they came up and put up 52 against the Bears in a game that got to 73 points. So I think the Lions are going to have no trouble passing all over Tampa Bay. But Danny, you talked about it. Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, DJ Reed, Terrion Arnold, Avonte Maddox. Those are the top 5 defensive backs. You're starting Rock Yassin and Amik Robertson against Tampa Bay. Regardless of who Baker has, he has shown he can put up points and throwing to whoever he's got.
I'm right there with you guys on points. I'm just going to isolate the Detroit side here. I'm going to go over 29.5 on the team total, 30 and 31 becoming the key numbers here in terms of totals. Larry mentioned how the Lions respond off a loss, typically very, very well. Very clean injury report for them on the offensive side of the ball. We talk about Tampa Bay and what Baker Mayfield's doing. I think they're able to push enough here. Also love the fact that playing against Tampa Bay, being a pass funnel, we're not going to see the clock running as frequently here because I think Detroit commits to throwing the football as well, whether that be completions out of bounds, incompletions, more plays in this game overall. Give me the over 29.5 here for a Detroit Lions team total.
All right, Mike, it looks like we're all kind of on the over here because you're on that Detroit Lions over 29.5 team total. I'm on the Bucs 23.5. And I feel like this whole show we've been making my argument here because this back end for the Detroit Lions, don't forget Baker is a very good quarterback. He's going to be able to expose this back end. And I just like the pace of this game likely to be on the slower side with these two teams. But I think we're going to have enough possessions and enough touchdowns from Baker specifically to get over this 23.5 point total. So give me the Bucs for like 27, 28. And I do think they have a shot to cover here. All right, let's go to a team total or first half bet that we like. Mike McClure, I'm going to start with you.
Go Seattle and Houston under in the first quarter here. The number 7.5, as it usually is for a lot of the NFL games. The price point, though, minus 125. I have this north of 60%. My number on it would be 7.5 at minus 162. So I'm going to go under here. When you look at these teams defensively, I think they're going to be ahead of the offenses. First of all, talking about the location of the game, for an opposing team, it's one of the most difficult environments, particularly in prime time, to go in and win and have success offensively. Having the bye week, though, for the Texans, I think that'll help them on the defensive side of the ball. I like this one to be a slow mover. I think we get field goals in the opening quarter, not touchdowns, certainly not multiple scores here. So I'm going to go under 7.5, minus 125.
Perfect segue for my first half under 20.5. Let's get a slow first quarter. Let's get a slow first half because that's how it's been a lot of the time for the Texans. Even against the Titans in their blowout win, that first half ended 6-0. So take away the outlier of the Ravens game where they really got it going. And this team plays very slow in the first half. Mike talked about these two defenses. I think it's going to come down to game management. Both quarterbacks know whoever makes the least mistakes is probably going to win this game. So look for them to come out with very conservative game plans and for this one to go under in the first half.
Yeah, I'm with you on that first half under of 20.5. I think it's too many points. Of course, you're not going to see this at 19.5 most likely, but I think 20.5 is a comfy number. I like the under there as well. And Larry, talk to me about your play because I'm pretty sure I heard this before from Mike McClure. You're looking at a team total.
Yeah, we're all on the same page with the Lions going over their team total, 29.5 juiced, or you can find a 30.5 that's cheaper. We've said all the reasons, but I want to point out Amon-Ra St. Brown coming off a very unusual game for him in Kansas City where he had a critical drop that stalled the drive and potentially turned that game against the Lions. I think he's going to come out, with determination, as well as Jahmyr Gibbs hasn't really been unlocked as a receiver. And Jared Goff, when he faces the Bucs, throws the ball over 63% of the time. An aggressive mindset from the Lions. I think they get well into the 30s.